Fuck is that in my coffee? Is that a coffee grind? Fucking hope it's coffee grind. Yesterday, I dropped a post on social media, on Facebook primarily. Someone's tweet that's basically said, "Dear international community, now you know the reason why we just can't stand up to this administration because we will literally be shot in the freaking head." A post by a white woman that was in response to the murder of Renee Good by ICE agent Jonathan Ross of Bloomington, Minnesota. Okay, first of all, we live in America where we have more guns than we do people. And yes, I know there's a whole ammosexual culture of hyper pro Second Amendment so that they can own 50 rifles to protect them from government tyranny, but y'all knew you couldn't rely on them. They're a bunch of bitch-made beta cucks who bend over for the government tyrant unless it's to resist liberal tyranny of having to wear a mask or pay the government to graze on grass or whatever first world problems trigger their snowflake sensitivities. Sons of Liberty is reappropriating our culture. Might as well reappropriate that too. You can't rely on these motherfuckers, and plenty of lefties like me have been telling y'all for years it's gonna come down to the left taking a page from, say, Black Panthers and open carrying where it's legal. Y'all weren't ready to have that conversation, and y'all weren't angry enough when autistic white dudes in hotel hallways were complying and still getting shot, and y'all weren't mad enough when black women and black men were getting gunned down or kneeled on. So here we are now. And I get it. I really do. Y'all are afraid. Good. That's the fucking point of Ice Goons. This was in Project 2025, and we fucking warned y'all, same as we warned MAGA. Be afraid. It's okay. You can be afraid. It's a natural response. What are you going to do now, though? Now that it's real and it's live on camera and it's in your face. Are you going to act or are you going to seize up? I know which one they want you to do. I'm afraid too. Every time I lace up my red Adidas sneakers and go protest where I know some angry redneck in a truck might get out and beat my ass, or some overzealous cop might say, "Oh fuck, there's that loudmouth Big Sarge." I don't let it deter me though. That was the whole point of the post. I posted this to dispute it, and I basically said, this is weak as fuck. What she means is that she won't stand up because she's afraid, and if you can't stand up now that they're gunning down anyone who sasses them, then you're not really much of an ally to anyone. And I knew that this was not going to go over well. A lot of y'all understood the assignment, and some of y'all did not. I got questions asking me what I am doing, accusing me of being anonymous, or basically announce their departure like I'm an international airport. I'm not. And there's no need to say goodbye because this ain't a country western song and I'm not your cheating spouse. Some folks acted shocked like this is the first time I've ever said something like this. It's not. So like I said, I knew this was not going to go over well, and yet I posted it anyway on static social media, not a video. Because as my buddy Thomas Benjamin Wilde Esquire famously sings, "I've no more fucks to give, my fucks have all run out." So if you followed Sons of Liberty for long enough, you know that I'm a massive history nerd. I'm so nerdy that Weird Al wrote me first and asked permission to co-opt the phrase white and nerdy before he asked that Chameleonaire guy for permission to parody his song Ridin' Dirty. Yes, frequent pause breaks are a thing in Sons of Liberty social media when I'm drinking my morning Big Sarge's Super Woke coffee, or you'll also find videos littered with musical references because I'm also a musical nerd. So when I posted yesterday, I instantly had a bunch of white mothers who were adamant about the fact that they had kids who relied upon them. That's great, Brenda, but Renee Good was a mother whose kids relied on her, and now they're orphans. They shot Renee in the face 3 times and called her a fucking bitch as they walked away from an incident scene. Renee wasn't even doing anything either. Here's the point, though, my fellow white people. A lot of y'all are doing stuff, and that's awesome. Thank you. That counts as standing up. You're not feeling the need to say, "Well, not all white people." And as a man who doesn't have to say not all men, I know you're picking up what I'm putting down. A fair number of white liberals like to co-opt the language of the marginalized and say neat little things like, "I've got your back," or "I'm an ally." But when we call on you to stand and deliver, to stand and be counted, to stand on business, to fucking stand up and do anything, some of y'all fold like laundry. Also, on the subject of co-opting phrases, the phrase "say her name" belongs to black people. It's for black women who have been killed by police that none of y'all fucking said anything about or just changed your profile picture. So On behalf of black people, I, the white ambassador, am asking you to fucking stop saying say her name unless it's a black woman. We don't say her name for Renee Good. Y'all, we're going to say her name regardless. So please, the black people in my comments have mentioned say her name belongs to them. And they grieve alongside you, but you can't use their phrase for a white woman. Sorry. I didn't make the rules. And don't be fucking mad at black people either. It's their phrase. It's one of the things you can't say. Like, anyway, it's a lot of y'all who think you're just going to wait for the midterms or you're going to vote fascism out of office. You know who I take my lessons from? Not fellow white liberals. I take my lessons from black people who faced what we're facing now, except they faced it during the civil rights movement. I've said this a number of times in social media posts and in videos that we've spent decades sanitizing and whitewashing the civil rights movement so that a lot of y'all think it's bloodless and that you can just hold a sign and sing some songs and that nobody's going to beat your ass. A lot of y'all would be shocked if you actually spent any time whatsoever reading about the actual civil rights movement. It's a lot more violent than you think. There are people still alive today who participated in the civil rights struggle who still bear the scars. Black organizers in the South protested segregation and racial inequality despite the fact that they could be shot, lynched, tortured, and mutilated, bombed, or made to disappear, and nobody was going to do anything about it. Civil rights activists marched even though they faced fire hoses, dogs, cops with billy clubs, rednecks with guns, hell, even cops with guns. Black Lives Matters organizers may not face dogs and fire hoses today, but they face down militarized police, targeted extrajudicial violence, and surveillance. And yes, I acknowledge there are white people who face the same things because they work along black organizers. That's literally the fucking point. Y'all face this shit and others don't. The administration doesn't have the numbers to take us all on at once. If you only define yourself as an activist when the cost of resistance is low and can't fathom how to be an activist when resistance is more than low, stop calling yourself an activist. You're a slacktivist. Go change your profile picture on Facebook to raise awareness for some cause, like the plight of the red-cockaded woodpecker, or share some more memes and send screenshots of someone else's social media post. And I hear all the people who are like, don't tell people how to resist. I'm literally telling you how to resist so that you can stand up and do something. You don't have to go out there and fucking pick up a rifle and start bodying people. Do something, though. You have to resist harder. And I understand that there are people who are physically disabled that can't literally get up and go out and do stuff. You can do stuff from your computer and still be an effective resistor. And I'm going to cover all those things at the end of this video. You know who else we can take lessons from? People who are afraid. Enslaved black people who led revolts, knowing that they would be executed when they were eventually caught. Nat Turner, ring a bell? Over 100 years of uprisings dot America's history of enslavement in incidents such as the Stono Rebellion in 1739 or the 1811 German Coast Uprising in Louisiana. Shipboard revolts such as the Creole Mutiny in 1841 and the more famous Amistad Mutiny of 1839. Or even just plots to rebel like 1800 Gabriel's Rebellion or 1822 planned revolt in Charleston. Just the mere whiff of a plot would terrorize white enslavers. And that was an era where if you had black skin, you had no rights at all. And if you so much as looked at a white person funny, you could have been executed on the spot and nobody would have done a goddamn thing. To even think of rebelling or revolting was certain death. And yet they did it anyway, and they had kids. Because what cost is worth paying for freedom from tyranny? And listen, I know some of the white women felt attacked in my post yesterday. Like, women are afraid of men. Yeah, I know. We understand that. I preach about the bear all the time. We're north-south on this. I'm tracking like a VCR. I had one comment that was like, they just shot a woman in the face. Now's not the time to tell white women to step it up. We tell people, hey, gun violence could have been prevented. And they say, now's not the time for that. And you're like, well, when is the time? I'm not sorry, not sorry. Do you want me to wait until they start beating white men? Now is the fucking time, because if it's not then, when is it? It's never a good time. The fear of hurting a white woman is exactly what some black men fear being weaponized against them. There's this thing called white women's tears. Now is the fucking time, because you're not safe anymore. Neither am I. Renee Good's murder proves that. Are you going to hide until it's death squads looking for liberal men? Is that when you want to speak up? That's precisely the point of my post yesterday, and hence the reason for this video. I'm sorry, but y'all, we don't have the luxury of sitting back and waiting. You're not going to vote this shit out of office. And if you're not resisting because you're afraid, My point is that everyone's afraid, but we still stand up and say, here I am, send me. Anyway, I pissed my pants the first time I ever got shot at. I know hardcore dudes that shit themselves. I feel like if black people have been struggling for centuries knowing that they'd be murdered or beaten half to death with no accountability for their perpetrators, just to have the same basic rights that we have today, then we can pick up the slack because we've relied on black people too much in the past decade plus, just for starters. And since I'm talking about history and white men, I'm going to circle back to that for a second. May 22nd, 1856, conservative enslaver, oligarch, and South Carolina politician Preston Brooks beat the ever-loving hell out of abolition politician and damned Yankee Charles Sumner right in the Senate chamber of the U.S. Capitol building. Brooks beat that white man so badly that it took years for him to make even partial recovery, and conservatives losing their grip on political power have a history of violence. Preston Brooks wasn't even the first, nor would he be the last. Another South Carolinian beat someone else for talking shit about slavery. A system of enslavement required the obedience and submission not just of the enslaved, but also the white people who would have otherwise criticized it. The fear was the point just as much as the cruelty. Then we had a whole ass war about it, and apparently we didn't teach them a strong enough lesson because they went right back to business doing slavery legally. We're on the precipice again, and if you want to hang on to your republic, like Benjamin Franklin warned, you're going to have to start facing the danger with the rest of us. We need every person in the fight, and what I am telling you is that it doesn't matter if you are afraid. Don't let that fear paralyze you. We have, quite literally, ICE agents walking up to people who are filming and saying, "You haven't learned your lesson yet," and then smacking the phone out of their hand and doing worse. They're now emboldened. And when a fascist thug is emboldened, that's it. It's either game over or it's game on. And me pointing this out only enraged certain people. That's who I'm talking to. Because again, if it doesn't apply to you, then you know it. And again, I'm not saying that every one of you needs to become a gun-toting Rambo. I'm simply saying the excuse of they'll shoot me in the face is why I can't stand up is actually I won't stand up. And I hear what you're saying. Well, I have kids. So did Renee Good. So do I. So do countless other people out there already resisting. That is the point. We are not going to let our fears control us, and we are not going to let our kids see us sitting back on the sidelines. Either your kid is going to grow up in a fascist authoritarian state, or they're going to wonder, when they're adults, why didn't you do more? Maybe both. I don't know. I'm not Miss Cleo. I can't see the future. The FBI has a list of millions of liberal activists that it's investigating for domestic terrorism. That list was leaked online. I spoke about this in my video this past Thursday. I'm on that list, and they know who I am because Big Swole security goons called me out at the Rocky Mountain Trump appearance. A lot of y'all are probably on that list already. So there's literally no reason other than fear to stand up and fight back. They're going to come after you, or they're not. You have no control over that, but you do have control over what you do next. I'm not suggesting that you have to pick up a rifle and go start bodying people. The purpose of resistance is to show defiance to the oppressor and to their allies. There are more ways to stand up and do something besides turning yourself into a martyr. Nobody's asking you to go out there and go toe-to-toe with a big old fat white supremacist wearing ICE tags on his body armor. That's not the only definition of standing up. You can support those of us who are on the front line. I say this every time we go out and we do a protest, that we need people to watch our backs online. We have a whole organization that goes out and does protests, whether it's, at the 50 capitals or in various cities, or we just all show up in Washington, D.C. or at Broadview ICE facility, like we're going to do on Saturday the 17th, plugging that again. Ways that you can support online include donating to, say, American Opposition's Get Out of Jail Fund or to Sons of Liberty's Get Out of Jail Fund. You don't have to do it financially. You can actually just show up on our Discord server and get trained up on how to be on our crisis response team. Those people sit online and they talk in a voice channel and they coordinate with OSINT and other means of watching our backs. And then they let us know, hey, look, there's something going down over here. It's a couple of blocks away from you. They watch live feeds. That's an effective way to resist by helping those of us who are on the ground. That's just one example. Get fucking involved. Stop saying you can't just stand up. We're not asking all of you to arm up and go start bodying people. I don't trust some of y'all to fight in the same foxhole facing the same direction as me, let alone just watch my back. But It's the same as in the military. For every grunt on the front line, there are a dozen support soldiers behind them doing other tasks to support the warfighters. Not standing up because you're afraid is not an option anymore. I'm sorry, it's not. You know who else was afraid? Black people in the civil rights struggle. Enslaved black people. They still stood up. Standing up and showing no fear is the first step. Even if you're afraid, you can lie. The fear is the point. Fear leads to submission. That's what they want, for you to be a good little citizen, shut up with your liberal bullshit, and let them tread on you. You know who else was being a good citizen and not doing anything? Renee Good. And they shot her in the face. Have you seen the videos of communities screaming at ICE agents, blockading them, filming agents, forcing them to retreat, videos where no one is killed? Resistance without bearing arms is entirely feasible and within the scope of what I'm talking about. Special shout out to Brennan for that helpful reminder. There are some other things that you can do. You can find a reputable group's campaign and become part of it so that you're not on your own. Hell, run for office yourself. Show up to local protests. Show up to state protests. Show up at national protests in D.C. where we go into congressional offices. Go visit your local and national offices of your elected officials. Yeah, they have state offices too. Guess what? Go there. Participate in boycotts and general strikes when and where you can. I personally can't afford to take days off from work, so I'm not going to do that because I do other resistance methods. You can also put up yard signs and flags to show your neighbors where you stand. Boycott their collaborators and post on their social media to tell them why. Spread information about what is going on and how you feel on social media. Be a goddamned nuisance to your less activist friends, especially the ones on the other side of the aisle. Write letters and postcards to prospective voters at votefwd.org. You can contact your congressional representatives and senators once per week. You could use an app to help with contact info and scripts such as 5 Calls and the Removal Coalition's National Day of Lobbying Netlify app. You can text the Resist bot and sign petitions that get faxed to your local representatives. You can find information on company donations using opensecrets.org. But for fucking out loud, sitting on the internet bitching about the progressive military veteran telling you that you can't afford to sit around and do nothing anymore, that's fucking worthless. Hashtag not sorry, not sorry. That's my time for today. Big Sarge out here. 2 claps and a Rick. Oh, fuck. Woo!
And now it's time for the throw punch!
You could use an app to help with contact info and scripts such as 5 Calls and the Removal Coalition's National Day of Lobbying Netlify app. God damn, that's fucking